and better than ever. After tonight, we may have to wait more than a week to bet on the NBA again, so we are going to be sure to help you bet Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals, including a best bet, plus some looks in MLB as well on the program today. Mark Zinno, I feel like I'm watching Groundhog Day when it comes to these NBA Conference Finals because every time, Eastern Conference, Western Conference, doesn't matter, for 40 minutes, it looks like Indiana, Minnesota's going to steal the game, and then they don't. They completely collapse down the stretch, and Indiana's now out. My question to you, sir, is pretty simple. Can the T-Wolves do what the Pacers failed to do last night, and that is avoid a sweep?
Probably not. There's a real simple formula here. I mean, look, I'm going to say this sentence out loud, and it's going to wow you because it is the playoffs. But the Timberwolves have lost 6 of their last 8 playoff games. That's really hard to do and still be in the playoffs. Like, think about that. They've played 8 games. They've won 2 of them. They are 2-6 in their last 8 playoff games. And oh, by the way, both games that they won went under the total. All 6 games that they lost went over the total. So the bottom line here is that the Timberwolves defense, which hasn't been bad in this series, I mean, the 116 was obviously one that they weren't going to overcome, but the 108 and 109 haven't been terrible by any stretch of the imagination. But, they have to figure out a way to keep Dallas under 100. Again, the 2 games that they won, they held Denver to 90 and to 70. I mean, you have to go back to the Phoenix series, the last time they allowed a team to score more than 100 points and won a game. So the first 2 games that they won in Denver, they held Denver to 99 and 80. I mean, Dallas is a very competent offense, but given the fact that they're still keeping them the 105, 108 is pretty good, and it's still not enough because the Minnesota offense also hasn't been anything really to get all that excited about. They've been bad from 3 in this series. They haven't really shot great, and it's just been a combination of things that have gone all wrong. And yet odds makers are still bringing this total up to 210 and a half here, BP. So I don't think it happens for Minnesota. I think Dallas has asserted themselves as the better team here. And they're the ones who are moving on probably when it's all said and done.
Yeah, obviously no team has ever recovered from an 0-3 series deficit. And look, 3 games decided by a total of 13 points only. But the difference is clear. The stars for the Mavs, Luka and Kyrie, they're averaging 60.4 points per game on nearly 50% shooting. Meanwhile, Towns and Anthony and Edwards, they're averaging, easy for me to say, they're averaging just 37 points per game combined on 33% shooting. That's just not going to get it done when your 2 stars are that poor. So that's been the difference in the series. And Minnesota, as good as they were in the fourth quarter in that Denver series, they've been equally as bad in the fourth quarter in this series. I mean, the offensive efficiency is just awful. I think they're averaging like 22 points in the fourth quarter in these 3 games. So we shall see. There's some injury news, obviously, on the Dallas front we've got to touch on. Lively is out, but Kleba is likely back in, so maybe the rim protection doesn't suffer for Dallas there. We will have a show best bet. We're looking at a player prop. We've been on fire. Go ahead.
Speaking of just rim protection, and that's the other thing here that is kind of surprising. You mentioned Edwards and Towns, right? The other area that's really not excelling for Minnesota, rebounding. This is a team that averages about 43 and a half rebounds a game. In this series, in Game 3, they had 33, then they had 40, and they had 40, and then we're getting beat on the glass in all 3 games. Like, that shouldn't be happening. Remember, we took that Rudy Gobert prop on Friday, and he came up, I think, 3 rebounds short. Like, they are getting beat on the glass, and it is hurting them on both ends of the floor, and that's the other reason why I don't like them to win tonight. I would just play Dallas money line and get out of Dodge because I just don't know that that's going to change all of a sudden. Whatever Dallas has done to figure out how to have the edge on the glass over Minnesota, it's been working.
Yeah, they're pulling the Minnesota big guys away from the basket, obviously. We all remember what happened in Game 2, Luka's dagger to win that. And like I said, Lively out, Kleba back in. We will have a show best bet. It is a player prop coming up in just a moment. But let's talk about Major League Baseball, shall we? Mark, you have a total on today's docket that you have your eye on.
Yeah, look, it's a spot where I am fading one of my favorite pitchers on to hate on my favorite team, and that's Nestor Cortes, because he is not so nasty and he is not so good, in my opinion. That's just me. That said, Nestor Cortes and the Yankees are in Anaheim to take on the Angels here. This total shot up pretty quick. It opened up at 8.5 certain spots. It's at 9 right now. I think it's playable at 9. I would get it at 9. I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't probably play it at 9.5 just because of that key number. But Cortes is going up against the Angels. The Angels have done very well against left-handed pitching this year. This is a team that's top 5 in batting average, OPS, and WRC plus. In fact, against lefties, the Angels are now the number 1 batting team in all of Major League Baseball, hitting 277. So they should have no problem getting to Nestor Cortes, who, again, I think is probably a little bit overrated, and his numbers are a little bit better than what we would think that they are, especially given the fact in his last 3 starts, or 3 of his last 4 starts, he's faced a weak Seattle lineup, a weak White Sox lineup, and a weak Tigers lineup, and he kept them all to 2 runs or less, and that's kind of the reason why his numbers look a little bit better. And I know the Angels lineup isn't great, but they hit left-handed pitching. And the Angels started Griffin Canning. The Yankees are hitting everybody right now. Griffin Canning has got a 5.05 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP. Say no more. The Yankees continue to score runs at a torrid pace the way that they've been playing as of late. You just look at how much they've been. I mean, against Seattle and San Diego, BP, you're talking about 7, 5, 8, 4. Of course, they lost 5-2 yesterday, but this is a team obviously that can score a ton of runs here. So the Yankees may do more of the heavy lifting here. I think when it's all said and done, I don't hate the Yankees on the run line either. I wouldn't mind laying the 1.5, given they have a better bullpen. If they get a lead, they may be likely to hold it after 5 innings. But let's go over 9 runs here between the Yankees and Angels.
Yeah, the Angels bullpen stinks. I talked about that last week on First Pitch when I broke down the Guardians-Angels game. All right, for my half of the double play, we are going over to the senior circuit. Miami and San Diego. I like the Padres, guys. This number looks short. San Diego yesterday closed north of minus 180 against the Marlins. They got the 2-1 win. Now they've taken some early money. They opened minus 120. They're at minus 128 as we're recording. I think this line's gonna continue to be bet up, and for good reason. Look, I understand Luzardo's going for Miami. He's got the scoreless streak, but the entirety of that scoreless streak, guys, has come at home. This game on the road. 2 road starts for Luzardo this year. 7.59 ERA, 1.78 WHIP. San Diego, yes, they do struggle against lefties, but it doesn't take a lot of runs to beat Miami when Miami's on the road. Miami only averages 3.1 runs per game away from home. And I like Waldron a little bit. He's a unique pitcher. He's got a knuckleball in the repertoire. Again, the Miami offense stinks, and Zinno, I've talked to you both on air, off air about this Padres team. I am higher than the market on them. I believe they are going to make the playoffs. This was a very unlucky team last year. They had the 3rd best run differential in the entire National League. So finishing with a win total in the low 80s was criminal. It's a better team than they were last year. And if I'm right about San Diego, these are the kind of games they're going to win. Honestly, this is the kind of series that they should sweep. So San Diego, just a much better team, available pretty cheap on the money line at home, is my half of the double play to go along with Mark's over on the Yankees and the Angels. All right, before we get to the best bet, we will talk about what we've got going on here on a Tuesday at WagerTalk.com. Major League Baseball and the NBA. I've got 4 straight winners now in MLB after going at 2 for 2 yesterday with the Reds and the Brew Crew. Couple teams that were in very favorable situations, taking out opponents off the Sunday night game with a quick turnaround. So that was good. Unfortunately, we were not able to do what Boston did in the NBA, and that's sweep. I lost game 4. The Celtics team total over did not hit, but I'll be back tonight. It's been a 32-16 run in the NBA, mark 67%. That's in addition to those 4 straight MLB winners. So I'm seeing it well. Head on over to WT.buzz/BP for all of today's winners.
Yeah, same here for me. In fact, I'm leaning into baseball right now with only 1 game in the NBA, and we may have to do that as the NBA playoff series may come to an end here tonight. and we'll get a little bit of a respite before the NBA Finals start here. But we loaded up 3 plays already in Major League Baseball this morning. Back on the baseball train as we continue to see the board well. WT.buzz/MZ. I'm going to really dive into this Game 4 here. Try to find a way to bet it after painful back-to-back team totals not going over, where we had Boston at 115 and they landed on 114. And last night we had the Pacers, who needed 10 points in 4 minutes and 36 seconds and got exactly 4 in the final 4:36 and did not go over their team totals. So we've kind of been bitten the butt here in the last couple of minutes of these NBA games here. So let's see if we can find another angle here tonight. But we'll have that all loaded up at the site, continuing to see the board really, really well. WT.buzz/MZ.
No more biting in the butt, says I. Kyrie Irving, he is a madman. Mark Zinno in closeout games, as you know. Why in the world is his point total only 23.5 tonight for game number 4? This is our show best bet.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Kyrie and what he's done. Just in the closeout games alone, he scored 30 against the Clippers, scored 22 against the Thunder, and now he's in a closeout here. The 3 games in this series, he's gone 30, 20, and 33. You look at Kyrie and his shooting and what he's been doing across the board in the series. 52% from the field, 44% from 3. I mean, at some point in time, Luka is going to draw enough attention to continue to leave Kyrie open. We've been focusing so much on Luka and the media hasn't. I get it. But this is a spot here where Kyrie shows up to play and has always shown up to play throughout his career. He is absolutely a guy that I want to trust in these spots here. Again, go back to what we're seeing. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder series. He only averaged 15.7 for that series, but that was a lot about what the Thunder did defensively. And also that entire series, the way it was played. Minnesota has not found any answers. Kyrie's averaging 27.7 for this series. We get a short enough number here. Let's back Kyrie Irving to go over 23.5 in a closeout game. And if he does, guys, guess what? Dallas is moving on tonight.
Yeah, and as we've seen, even if Luka's getting his, that doesn't mean Kyrie's not getting his too. Right. Those two could both go for over 30 on any given night. So Kyrie Irving, over 23.5 points, is your show best bet. Let us know what you think of that down in the comments section below. If you agree or just like what you heard on today's program, smash that like button. Give us the old thumbs up. And if you already haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the exclusive sports betting content we have here on WagerTalk TV. Mark and I are dropping the morning wager every Monday through Friday here, giving out the free winners in the NBA and Major League Baseball, as Mark alluded to. It might be just Major League Baseball for the next week. My God, is the national media going to run Kyrie versus Boston into the ground? Bet every over a number of stories you hear there. So, but we shall see tomorrow morning if there is any more conference finals. But for Mark Zinno, for Joe Ranieri on the back end, thank you for always believing in me, Joe. I am Bryan Power, and until next time, let's catch some tickets.